what was sold as an incentive program has become so incredibly corrupt that only the big guys can get the benefit of the tax abatements, and they're hiring their hired guns to come in and do their bidding at the school board level and taking over school boards.
So what we're talking about is the worst chapter in Texas education, and it is chapter 313.
It is obscene.
I mean, if the money doesn't strike you, nothing will grip you faster and harder and more fervently than your children. So where are we on this?
So at the beginning of the legislative session, after I'd met our friend Mark Golaby, who'd done so much research and been working so hard to expose the corruption around 313, I had gotten a call out of North Texas about a problem they were having in their school district, just wanting advice. So what they saw happen over a period of 6 years is they saw people move into the area, immediately file to run for school board trustee. They've got $100,000, $200,000 in their campaign war chest, and 2 or 3 of them at a time. And then as they started examining it, they're like, this person doesn't even have a child in our school district.
Their objective
Their objective was to give tax abatements, some of them for decades, to big business in their district under the auspices of, economic incentive, and it'll create so much employment and so much business. The trickle-down effect will help the community. That's how it was sold. Economic development.
Yes.
What was really happening is these bigger players that were doing this were basically buying these school board trustees, through campaign contributions. Followed after they would be in the trustee position for some time, a couple of terms, their war chest is swelling with contributions.
Yeah. From who?
The contributions are coming, because you can track that. The contributions are coming from these companies that have received these massive tax abatements, for decades, some of them, which makes no sense because it pushes the tax burden to the small business owners. Now, this is insane. This is a small business owner disincentive program because the small guy can't afford to make these massive campaign contributions to the school board. And so their taxes keep going up. Everyone in Texas has realized your taxes are incrementally going up, up. So much so that last session, our friend Senator Brandon Creighton and others introduced legislation in the Senate to put a cap on how much they could raise it. No one had done the research. No one had connected the dots about how this thing was being exploited.
Yes, it's wired. Okay, so the guys that get in on the school board, they're operatives that are put in place, and money talks, and so now they can help grease the skids on companies coming in and getting these abatements, the Chapter 313. So now describe for the people that are new to this conversation, what does that really give the company, and what kind of companies are getting this thing? It's a big story.
A great way to open up the next level of what I would call corruption. Trustees that came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Well, what they found was these businesses that were coming in, they were either a wholly owned or partially owned business entity of XYZ Co. shell company that was funded by such and such, private equity fund, which is a branch of such and such megacorp. That's one of the 5 megacorps that really own everything in the United States, including all 6 media news outlets. And all at once, within the last 2 to 4 years, all at once, they started pushing a very liberal curriculum. They want to teach critical race theory. We just outlawed that, thank God for our legislature. That they put an end to that nonsense because it teaches systemic racism and
it perpetuates
a victim mentality.
Yes.
But here's one of the other horrible ones. And this is what the call from North Texas had come to me about originally.
Which is why we connected again on this conversation, because this is a recent revelation to you.
This is the hired gun school board trustees unified with their liberal agenda because they're corporately owned. That's why. So there's several problems that have to be addressed. One, there has to be a check and balance in who is funding the campaigns of school board members, so that's where their interests are. I mean, that breeds corruption right there. There's the amount, and so what they do typically to run and hide is they'll split their campaign contributions up to $1,000 and $2,000 increments. But if you add it all together, if you've done the research, you'll find out they get $25,000, $50,000 really from one entity each year. Okay, so you'll see this if you go do the research. And so it's totally corrupt. They are definitely trying to hide. And then they're pushing this crazy liberal agenda. You talk to the parents that have the kids in the schools.
Yes.
It's an overwhelming majority. They don't want this to happen. So this is what these guys do. They push this liberal agenda through. The parents revolt. They're upset. They're as any parent would be.
Predictable.
You know, why would a fourth or fifth grader need to see porn at school? And so here's the school board's response. And this is happening in multiple school districts around the state of Texas that have this 313 systemic corruption going on. The school board's response is, well, we'll just, we should provide counseling for all these children.
Oh, an agency.
So they're going to act like the savior now. They created the problem, right? You can't unsee that at a child's age. You
Business
can't
plan
unsee
page
this thing.
72.
Yeah, and so we'll just hire counseling, right?
Yeah.
So the school district, this is tax dollars from the people that had to pay all the extra taxes because they gave the incentives to the people that own these guys that just did this to them. Okay? They go and contract for counseling. And the way that it looks to us as we started examining this is, why are they calling Michigan for this counseling company, right? And so Michigan, that gets all the, as an example, just one.
Yeah.
They're coming out of liberal areas. They're coming out of Austin. They're coming out of Dallas, right? You follow, you get what's going on here?
Yes.
Okay, so this out of state counseling company, they get all the profits. They make their margin. They subcontract it to their liberal counseling friends, the same ones you can find in the library doing drag queen story hour.
Yes.
I mean, it's the same thing.
They seeded the market with the seediest elements.
Right. It's, they're working consistently with the teachers union, and I hear so many teachers call and they're asking for help. They call into BizPac. They're asking for help. They're not business owners, you know, but I'm listening. They don't want what's happening. These teachers, but they're part of this.
They have a real heart to do what they do, but they're along for the ride.
They want to teach children, but they don't want to teach them sex ed. You know, they don't want to teach them critical race, but they're having it crammed down on them by the teachers union. So you've got the liberal agenda being pushed at the school board hired gun level from the school board trustees. You've got the teachers union holding these teachers hostage for their retirement. Okay, you see that game? You see that's what they're doing?
Yeah, wow.
And so they're in this terrible situation. These teachers are in this terrible situation that they want this to end. If you can break apart the corrupt school board members that we're talking about, we can just make it till next Monday at closing gavel, this thing's dead. If they vote for this corrupt stuff, right, then it's time to mount up and find a replacement for this person. There's no amount of, I'm sorry I didn't know, that can happen. We've made them all aware of it.